Fitin10 Nation, it is day 68. 3 days remaining, including today. And I know a lot of you have been asking me about what to do after the challenge, eating-wise, and then of course, training-wise. So I would highly recommend that you guys still weight train 2 to 3 times per week in the gym. And so I would encourage you to go and get, or just I can do it for you, set yourself up with a gym membership, which allows you to do as many of our classes per week as you like. We are adding more classes in next week. We've got a full week of 5 a.m.s minus the Wednesday. And I'm going to be adding in some 5:30 p.m.s on Monday and Friday. So we're continuing to add more and more classes. We are going to get a weekend up shortly here, and we are seeking out help for instructors in the classes, because it's only just Martina and myself right now. So hopefully we'll have that resolved shortly, and that will allow us to give you even more classes. Okay, we will get back there. I promise you. We will not be going down in numbers in classes. We will only be going up. Okay. All right. Question here: do you recommend a weekly cheat meal after the challenge is over? It depends. Okay, if you really want to see change week to week, I wouldn't do a weekly cheat meal. You can do a lot of damage. I can do a lot of damage in one meal, so I'm sure you can as well. So it just depends on how much change you want to see. If you want to maintain, I don't think it's really an issue. If you want to lose more or a lot a week, and you want to see a good amount of change week to week, I wouldn't do it. So it really just boils down to how much and how happy you are in the state that you're in. Now, that's not to say you could never have a cheat meal. I think if you had a cheat meal, so let's say you wanted to see some really good change, and so you're like, okay, well, I won't do a weekly cheat meal, but maybe you'll do one every 3 weeks, every 21 days. I think that would be very, very reasonable. Okay, and of course, this doesn't have to be for the rest of your life. It just has to be for that period where you're trying to, shed more body fat, right? Okay. Okay, anything else you'd like me to cover in this week's video series? Local fitness company recommendations to shop at, women and BPOC owned, appreciated if they exist. I don't know any, to be honest with you, and to be honest with you, I'm really not I'm stuck in my own world. I'll be honest with you. So I don't know. Although I haven't asked Martina, she might know. If you're not already familiar, BPOC is, I think, stands for Black, Indigenous, and People of Color. I don't know any companies out there. I'm sure there are that are doing this, but so I have to look into it. Okay. All right. All right. This was kind of funny. I actually read this already. I will eat within my allocated amount of carbs. I was thankful that my crepe guy finally reopened, so I went and ate 2 crepes, which completely killed my numbers for Wednesday. All right, you and Martina love crepes, clearly. Martina's like a crepe connoisseur. Name something you need help with. I find that having trouble doing some of the Zoom class exercises cause lower back pain. What am I doing wrong? I've already tried sucking in my tummy to ease the pain. Okay, listen, sucking in your stomach is not, like bracing your midsection, that's one thing you can do. But what will help you more is you have to look at the way that you're positioning yourself in whatever you're doing. So chances are, I'm assuming this is happening on stuff where you're bent over. So if you're bent over, you need to make sure that you, and of course I could be wrong, so you let me know. But when you are bent over, you need to be in a more of a, generally speaking, you need to be more of a you need to be in more of a hinged position, right? So you need to have your an anterior pelvic tilt, which basically means like your bum in the air and your chest towards the floor, and your back completely neutralized. What happens when you become really tired, especially when you're doing a lot of volume like you are in the Zoom classes, is those hips will begin to go in the opposite direction. You'll create a posterior pelvic tilt. Your lower back will round, okay? So just be aware of that. That is the biggest thing that I can point out, okay? Is there anything you would like me to cover in this week's video series? Will I get more out of weight training or cardio if I go into it hungry or starving? Well, I'm not really sure what you mean. Not empty stomach, I'm assuming. If you're doing empty stomach, definitely don't do weight training empty stomach. Cardio, I don't think it's a big deal if you do empty stomach. If you ate but you're still starving, I'd be honest with you. When you go in to do a good hard session, you should be empty stomach. In fact, I think it's best to be like feeling hungry when you go into your workouts. You'll be more alert. Okay. Now, just to clarify, I'm not saying fast for a long period of time. I'm just saying going in feeling empty. Okay, so maybe you ate 3 hours before or something. But you'll feel more alert, and you'll feel a little bit lighter, and you should feel less lethargic during your workout. So you're not going to get really more out of the other. Some people claim that cardio empty stomach is you're going to burn more fat that way. I don't think that's ever been demonstrated through any form of study. So, but I used to do it. I still do it just because I like to do it at that point in time. But I used to do it back in my earlier days, like back when I was 20, when I was getting ready for my shows. It was like, oh yeah, you got to do cardio empty stomach because you get burn more fat. Don't know if there's any truth to that. Okay. But yeah, just getting back to it, I would do your weight training and your cardio, on virtually an empty stomach. Okay. Again, not fasting, but basically just being really hungry, right? Waiting 2 or 3 hours after eating. Okay, unless you're somebody who suffers from like hypoglycemia or something like that, right? Or you're diabetic. Okay, after the challenge, do you recommend doing heavy weights 1 week, then light weights the next week, and alternating? Okay, so listen, for a lot of you, I would just say go in and train really hard, okay? And don't worry about cycling. But as you become more proficient and as you become, as you're able to learn how to put more intensity into your training, then you have to start cycling, okay? Cycling does not become that important when you're not well in tune and you haven't put in years of training really, okay? So I wouldn't worry about it at this point. I would just worry about training hard every week. When you reach the point where you plateau and you fully plateau, then maybe that's something we want to revisit. Not necessarily, but that may be one avenue you want to go down. And it wouldn't be something like doing light 1 week, heavy 1 week. It would be more like cycles of maybe like heavy to semi-heavy to what we call like a deload, or more specifically like a strength phase, hypertrophic phase, and then like a deload. Okay, so you'd be doing like lower reps, middle range reps, and then still middle range reps on a deload, but just your load is dramatically reduced. Okay. All right. Okay. So that's all I'm going to say on that. Let's get the message of the day, which is be the best you can be. Be the best you can be, right? I've talked about this before. Put your blinders on. Think about what you want to do. Think about what you want to achieve. Think about where you are at with your eating. Think about what you can improve upon. Think about how much progress you've made. Think about where you are in terms of your results. And then focus on, and of course, let's take in consideration where you want to go. And then focus on what you need to do for yourself. Focusing on being the best version of you, not looking at what somebody else is eating, or how many calories somebody else is eating, or what somebody else is doing for whatever reason, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You cannot hop from your shoes into their shoes. Their path is completely different from your path. We all have these individual paths. So you have to focus on doing what is best for you, focus on being the best version of you, not necessarily trying to beat anybody, not necessarily trying to be the best, although that's fine if you want to try to be the best. But ultimately, if you want to be the best, you still have to be the best version of you, right? So that's what you should focus on, I believe, okay? Be the best you can be, okay? And be what you want to be, all right? Don't let anybody or anything dictate otherwise, okay? That's That's all I'm going to say. Submit, commit the last couple days, although you should still submit, commit after the challenge. Should. Positive energy, positive vibes, believe in yourself, and send me your gratitude. Some people send it in Slack. Keep sending it to me in one form or another, Slack or your feedback. Submit it, okay? Submit, commit. See you guys.